right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. Keep your views coming at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Here is State of the Nation. We're talking about all matters, politics, and everything in between, from the dailies to issues coming up. And see here, there's a question direct to Honorable Sosion and Halwale from Danvas Omweri. Says, can Halwale and Sosion tell us if they have ever advised the Deputy President to call an all-inclusive meeting in his official residence than only his Tanga faction to drive his agenda? Why are they blaming the president while they say the duo were jointly elected, but they don't see the fault in the deputy president? Have you ever called the deputy president and told him to bring in an all-inclusive meeting in his residence rather than only people allied to him? That's what Danvas.
Does that man live in this country? The president is the only leader, the deputy president is the only leader in this country who has been calling all-inclusive meetings attended by elected leaders, aspiring leaders, the youth, Boda Boda, Mama Mboga, name it. And we've been seeing it. The contrast is what is on the other side. We only see the president himself calling Raila Odinga, Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Wetangula, and sometimes Oparanya to State House. Tell us this single day when the president called an all-inclusive meeting. And Senator Wamatangi is being very kind to the president for good reason. When he says that the president wants to use this opportunity to speak to his national agenda on how he has run the country. Please, the Constitution gave him a wonderful day to address a joint sitting of the two houses. And he did. And he failed. So give us a break. We have moved on. We are remaining with 200 days before we get a new CEO. Stop gauging us. Let us do our thing, you do your thing. And Trevor, tell me, why would a professor, my own best friend here, my neighbor in Kisumu there, why would he just say, oh, it's just a pledge, this one he wants to give 6,000, he'll give more or less? Ruto will promise this, he might give him. It is not that way as far as we are concerned, Professor. When we speak to the bottom up, Prof, we are telling people that there's nothing like free lunch. We want people to compete. The youth to compete for jobs. Businesses to compete for opportunities to sell their wares.
Yeah.
On the other side, Azimio is telling people, you don't have to compete for opportunities. Wait. You don't have to allow your businesses to compete against each other. Just sit there in complacency and walk in with 6,000 shillings for you. What's more, we are telling them that in the process of investing in your businesses, we will be expanding opportunities, because the businesses that we invest in will create other businesses, and therefore opportunities will be expanded. The economy is going to grow. On the other hand, the other guys are telling us, no, just sit there, we're going to bring money so that people are denied opportunities. How are they denied opportunities? The history is there. We are on record that the former Prime Minister recommended his own brother, who is in his 80s, to be a member of Parliament in Iyala, in the process denying the youth opportunities. He has repeatedly shortchanged the Lower Eastern, which voted to the man for him, Western, which voted to the man for him. He has denied them opportunities by using the goodies of the handshake to develop only his region, which also voted for him, to the man. Finally, on the critical issue of leading, the Deputy President is saying, okay, we are going to form government with everybody. So he's telling people that for the first time, we want everybody to be part of formation of government. On the other side, Trevor, we are being told, no, just sit there. The three dynastic families will continue leading you, of course, with the support from the theoretical tribal kingpins. This is how revolutionary the election of 2022 is. It is more revolutionary than the election of 2002, when people were saying yote yawezekana.
Okay. Prof, is that your reading as well from what Alwale is saying?
I think Mheshimiwa Alwale is a bit excited about the bottom-up economy. Now, here is government pumping 5 billion shillings to the economy as proposed by Deputy President Ruto, and basically to grow the economy. That's I take that as what would then be in the manifesto of UDA.
Yeah.
Now, Mheshimiwa Sosian said that this is a revolutionary approach to governance, that these are new things, and he's given examples. This has happened elsewhere. I think you can see clearly that this is an attempt to ensnare voters. An attempt to ensnare voters with a figure picked from the blues. That is not in doubt. I know that when you increase enterprise or you pump money into enterprise, small traders, whether here in Nairobi or in Kisumu, that will determine the vote, because I know that the market, for instance, the traders in Kisumu, for instance, will dictate who becomes the next governor. The same for Nairobi. I think that Mheshimiwa Ruto is simply luring traders by promising them 5 billion shillings to a kitty that is not yet there, because he's not yet there to decide, to determine how much will be available for traders. That's point number. But point number two, remember, now let me just, since it's touched on the UDA manifesto, let me touch on the Azimio, but let me focus on the UDA manifesto, on healthcare, the universal healthcare. This has been tried before. Universal healthcare has a framework. It is something that is implemented. So Bababaka is an actual plan that can be implemented. You can put aside money for health. That is a reality. Even the 6,000 that is in question is doable. Let me now speak like a politician. That when these things are put into manifestos, this question is already in manifestos, they can be done after the election through a legal framework that can then be moved through Parliament under Article 109, because Parliament has the power to do the framework. I think so. Mheshimiwa has referred to that. But we should not fantasize over impossible things. You cannot, for instance, tell people that we are going to bring a wheelbarrow. Mheshimiwa, you also mentioned this. You can't say a wheelbarrow can grow people. No, it can't grow people. Technology grows people. Trade grows people. Putting money, and I'm not sure whether this bottom up or this is top down, getting money from government to put into enterprise that grow will grow the economy. Then when you grow the economy and an economic tax base that is realistic, then you grow the economy. I think that is so that you can, it's not entirely bottom up. It is a mixture of top down and bottom approaches that will grow economies in third world countries.
Right.
But on the other on the other question that Mheshimiwa Alwale has alluded to, I think the choice, and this is on Onyala, the choice of individuals who serve at a legislative level, at a regional legislative level, is normally a diverse choice. And all you look for is competent. It is never about, it's never who and who is a brother of who and who is a... incidentally, Mheshimiwa Alwale, you forgot that Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka's son also sits at Yala. So why are you singling out Baba?
Matangi, do you feel like we're actually talking about the same thing here, just in different languages? Yeah. Because when he says that if you put it in the manifesto, then it can be implemented, the argument is that both sides can actually put it in the manifesto and implement what they actually say. And
actually, even a little, further than that, or if you start a few steps ahead of that, you realize that when you talk, if you look at both sides, if you start with the bottom-up approach, you see the emphasis is on the lower and middle class of our people. The informal sector, for that matter.
Yeah.
And that derives from the knowledge that most of us have, including those top leaders, that one, the movers of the economy are those people at that level, the Jua Kali, the informal sector. And then, as Wakili says, also that is where you still have the bulk of the people, the numbers. And so when you look at what the bottom-up approach is saying, and the Azimio la Umoja with the 6,000 offer to families, or the 50 billion injection, they're addressing the same sector, the same people. And so I believe starting from there, you can see that we are really talking about the same people, the same thing, but only using different methods. And then when it comes to, again, what you said, I believe at the end of the day, whether you have a manifesto or you don't, at this particular time, the reality is that now people are talking campaign politics at this period. And that is where you find that none of the political parties have launched a manifesto saying that this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. Maybe they will do, of course, in the very near future. But if you really contextualize the discussions, and not only at the presidential debate, candidates level, even at members of parliament level, you'll find that people are now looking for every possible avenue to get into the minds of people and get more numbers. So there's no limitation in the kind of things that you're going to hear. I think I would conclude that on my thought line by saying that it is important at the end of the day, even as we say all those things that are being said by our political leaders at the top or middle level, that we are still going to remain here, Trevor, after these elections. And we have history, as Boni Halwale said, all the way then from that 2002. When we got our first multi-party government, and then Kibaki's time, now Uhuru Kenyatta's time. And we can judge by that history how much of election promises finally come to be. How many of them ever get to be implemented? And then we'd be asking ourselves as a country, because at one point or the other, we must start also seeing things collectively as a nation. Then why do we need to change direction? At the end of the day, do you know even presidential candidates themselves also bear the brunt of what finally is the outcome of the entire process, even after they get elected, after they don't get elected? And you can use a good gauge and measure by looking at, for example, what happened to the NASA principles and the entire of that brigade after we went to the election, which was then won by Jubilee. But have they been bearers of the consequences of the promises that were made then? And if those promises have subsequently all come to be right? And then you find, even sometimes before the former Prime Minister got into the handshake with the President, he was critical of some of the things that the government promised. And he was asking questions: why haven't this been done? Why hasn't this been done? And now, prior to that, when the Deputy President and the President were working together, you still find that there were questions around issues that had to be accomplished, or promises that had to be accomplished. I would be saying, at the end of the day, you find that those consequences will find all of us. Key thing, in my view, is that yes, make promises, campaign, say all those things. But remember, at the end of the day, these are the voters you find in 2027. And so they will ask the same questions.
So the moment of reckoning will come. So Zion, wind up this conversation for us, then we get into
Yes. And I would come back to my colleague, Tom Achenda. These are not just mere statements to hoodwink the public. These are serious statements. And if you look at the analysis of Kenya in terms of poverty, data from Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, we saw it 2 days ago, that 15% of Kenyans have sunk more to poverty. That's an additional figure. It's alarming. If you look at the livelihood of Kenyans, now they cannot afford food on the table. Sugar is at 150 shillings per kilo. The households cannot afford. So really, the background here of the bottom-up economic agenda is based and premised on the abject poverty that is in this country. And it's not a mere wish that you make statements for the sake to get power. It is a matter of addressing the absolute and the abject poverty. And this is where we must vacate conservatism. And what the other group is trying to do is to promote conservatism that has existed since 1963 with the trickle-down economy and resources being retained at the top and leaving poor citizens suffering. In 2002, when Kibaki said he was going to provide free education, Uhuru Kenyatta was a presidential candidate of KANU, said Kenya cannot do that. But look at it today. It worked within 100 days. And Kimani Maruge, an old man of 80 years, was able to go back to school. It worked. Free education is now one of the best programs in this country that has gone up to Form 4, is now free secondary education. And I'm sure, moving forward, even tertiary and university will be made accessible. Where did money come from to finance free education? And look at devolution. Who knew that devolution would work in this country? Trevor, there is money in this country, but it has been retained at the top. And that is why devolution remains even threatened. And therefore, this very pragmatic direction, and by the way, let's not wait for manifestos. We are now beginning to see structures of the scripts of the various manifestos taking shape. And therefore, on this one of 5 billion being targeted at the traders, it is not money to go and dish and collect. In fact, it's very clear, and the Deputy President said this is to free small-scale traders from predatory lenders, that is Shylocks. And this money will be made available in a decent way to the business people. And in fact, this goes ahead. It goes ahead to say, yes, the bottom-up economic model would establish a friendly legal and financial regime to enable small markets which support millions of livelihoods to grow. It's very specific, even in terms of legislative framework and making it work. It will work. It is now time to act revolutionary in this country. Okay. When we are talking about over 30 million Kenyans living below poverty line, in fact, this country should declare poverty a national disaster without looking at other things. So why are we massaging individuals for centuries and we are leaving people to suffer when we have resources? And this is a moment of equity and equality. The money that has been retained and the money that is available. Kenya is a rich country, it's an economic hub in the region. Those who want to invest in Sudan, Congo, and all the rest from the rest of the world, they keep their money here in Nairobi. And that is why this is a war between conservatives who want to keep money at the top and promote mega businesses and kill small businesses and continue subjecting many Kenyans in poverty. That is why when you look at the trips of the Deputy President all over the country, it is attracting masses and masses of Kenyans who have suffered in poverty. I've worked in the labor movement for a long time, and I know what I'm talking about. And I know what we did in 2002 when some people were saying there is no money to finance free education. We financed free education. Dr. Alwale, the CDF, started operating, and CDF now has replaced Harambee. In fact, CDF should be financed 3 times. Okay. 3 times what it is at the moment. Kenya can leap into an instant middle-income country if we go revolutionary. Okay. I'm one of those who will not promote any route of conservatism. And I think this route, when the model, what the Deputy President has said about micro, small, medium enterprises is that the country will pump in 50 billion shillings. That is on a national scale. It's a specific figure. And once elected, this almost becomes law. It must be implemented. Okay. He said 100 billion shall be financed into labor-intensive sector, the manufacturing, the agro-processing, value addition, so that employment can be created. You are talking about real figures of money that can be availed. Okay. And the script of the manifesto is unfolding. Don't think, if you look at the attraction of the bottom-up economic model is that many Kenyans from the social justice world are getting attracted to it. And I think William Ruto is getting it right by bringing a model that is very, very popular with the people at the bottom of the pyramid, and a model that has worked, and that is why I've said it is revolutionary. And it's what happened in China, it's what happened in Cuba, and that is the truth. So the challenge of the team from the other side
there's a right
to organize themselves.
Yes, all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, the right to reply. You know, you espouse the beauty of the bottom-up economy, and I agree with you that it is good to grow enterprise and to put money into the hands of people who do not have money. But then why then did you vote against the BBI that intended to grow the cake from 15% to 35%? Instead of this trickle-down from the national government, why not empower counties, the 47 counties, to deliver to the people living in these counties? Because in terms of demographics, development, most of our people are still down there in the rural areas. Let counties develop. And I believe, therefore, that you should have then supported any process that would have brought money or taken money down to the counties.
Okay. Now, if we talk about BBI, how it was handled, it's a different story that we should not bring to this discussion. But we know too well it was messed up. I was right inside the process,
support the principle.
and I did really support. And remember, when we were in Bomas, we agreed very clearly that there should be consensus. Some people somewhere did not respect consensus. They imposed their own materials. Like when you bring in the ombudsman into the judiciary, you bring in the executive to prefect the judiciary, and that matter gets to the judiciary. Do you think it will see light of the day? There was exaggerated self-intended motives within BBI that brought it down. And there was deliberate exclusion of the deputy president and his camp from giving their own views in terms of BBI. So let us not bring the BBI.
You will not agree on this.
It was deliberately killed by the executive.
Okay, let's move on to the next topic now.
You cannot engage in a constitutional discourse without building consensus.
We have two more topics that we need to talk about. Hate speech, number one, and the issues of political parties bill. But let's bring up what the people are saying online really quick and see what the reactions are. Number one, Mwoka JM says the figures being floated by presidential candidates are achievable. What we need is political goodwill afterwards and reduced corruption. Okay. Okelo Mwalimu says, as we listen to presidential candidates' pledges, we must ask the following questions. What are their past record on attainment of those past pledges? Did they fulfill them? Are they holding constitutional offices at the moment? Why aren't they acting on such pledges? Okay. Odongo Rolex says, youth are smarter this time around. The enticements brought to us by these politicians have never and will never be achieved. Where is the laptops, stadiums, and what about the country's economy? Okay. Chalo Woodrose says, President Uhuru Kenyatta has the right as the president and a Kenyan to give us direction on who should be the next president because he knows better. He's a symbol of unity and his political direction should be taken, I think he said should not be taken for granted. But he says, okay. Angela Lazaro says, the president has the best interest for the nation. Politicians opposing unity of Kenyans are just focusing on their personal interests, minus considering the consequences of dividing the nation along the tribal lines. Okay. Njenga Wakungu says, Boni Alwale should understand that every leader has their own style of leadership. State House Kenya must not use Kibaki's style of leadership. We need his guidance on general elections. All right.